is grounded in the fact that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Can someone tell me what that means in simple terms? We are fearfully and wonderfully made.
In simple terms, I'll say that when God created a human or a person, he put everything, whatever is needed for that person to have and to live life without any condition we are complaining about. Or this, is, as you say, the body is intelligent. So God built the body, created the body in that way, that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, that everything, whatever is put in our body or the body is created, we have it all, that we should be able even to resist diseases or to be able to secrete whatever is not needed in our body, toxins. So that's why we are faithfully and wonderfully made. That's according to my understanding.
That is brilliant. I love what you said, and this is why we are here. And so with what you're saying, the intelligence comes from God. The intelligence which God created doesn't just end up in the brain. And this is where I think with what you're saying, I agree with you. The intelligence God created is throughout the whole body. But each body function has its own responsibility. So I like that. So our understanding that we are fearfully and wonderfully made brings us to a point where now we have to understand how fearfully and wonderfully made are we. So my next question is, what is the significance of the health message to spiritual growth or spiritual maturity?
The body and the mind works together. And if we're not healthy physically, then it affects us mentally and vice versa. So we have to look after both, because if we're ill, then we can't really fully appreciate the message and what we're instructed to do. We have to have health and wellness. That's my interpretation of it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I agree with you. So at this point, as we answer these questions, I want us to really begin to think, so where are the gaps? We might not be able to answer this question today fully, but these sessions which we will be having together every Sabbath is going to help us understand where the gaps are for us as individuals, for our families, for our communities, in our churches, or in the world at large, whichever way you want to look at it. Because it is through answering questions like this which has led me to understand a little more about what the health message is and what is not. So at this point, I'll pause for a moment. Anybody with questions for me? What questions do you have before we move forward? Questions based on what we have shared and what we need to expound on.
Can I just quickly ask, is this the first in the session of these series that you're running?
This is the first one. However, I recorded 2 sessions, which one was on the YouTube channel. One was on matter, understanding atoms, ions, and elements, which I hope today we can talk a little bit more about that as well, because with the question you asked me earlier about medication, that is one area which we kind of get a little challenged in life, because we don't understand the significance of chemistry and physics in terms of our daily choices we make in how we live. All these things are connected. So the science lies in putting all the dots together. Did I answer your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. So it's really not one size fits all. The health message is not a one size fits all. However, gaining a clear understanding of what God wants us to do is the key. So when we are called with this health message, we tend to struggle a little bit because we have pieces of it. We have some pieces here and some pieces there, and we are missing some pieces. So this series is meant to do exactly that. It's also not meant to intimidate anyone or to make anyone feel like they don't know enough. It's just meant to answer your questions as we go along, and also bring us to the same level where we can say, okay, so this is what I can do, or this is what we can do together, or this is what we need to share with each other. And so what are some of the questions you have for me? Did I answer you?
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, Dr. Stella. Before you go further, what was the question, the last question you asked?
What is the significance of the health message in spiritual growth?
All right.
That's
Thank you.
the question I asked, and the answer came along the lines of so we can understand that there's certain things we can do in life to prevent suffering, and also as we are living, we can apply those things which are meaningful for us to achieve good health and be able to endure when we have challenges with our health. Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Sounds good. So I'm going to just go over a couple questions, and then I have great news for you. Dr. Dwayne and Dr. Nancy McAndry knocked at the door and they showed up. They are the authors of the book, The Body Temple. So I will be switching my my device shortly after we go through this question, so you can see them and also hear them. I'll put it on a different mic. What I wanted to clarify here is that this series is not about me or what I know. It's about what do people need to know. I'm very passionate about this because when I see clients who come to me, I spend a lot of time explaining to them how their body works. And it's good that I'm able to do that. But I think if every single person who is living today could identify how their body works, it will also make it easier for the doctors who are seeing sick patients to know what's wrong with them. Because if a patient comes to see a physician and say, my leg hurts, a leg is from your hip to your foot. The doctor has no idea where to start from. But when you say, it hurts in my groin, they can already start think, what is in the groin? So some of the terms which are used in the medical arena has to translate to the individual, so the individuals can ask the right questions, say the right thing, because some messages are lost in translation. That's just my observation. So that's why I'm asking these questions, so I have an idea of where we are and what we need to expound on. So we are moving forward. What are we made of? What is the nature of the human body? It's a question I'm posing to the floor. Anyone can answer. Okay. So we are made of living tissue. Human beings, when you touch your skin, you feel the tenderness of your body, right? You feel your hand rubbing your skin. We are made of cells, tiny, tiny little components which are alive. And this is what our conversation is going to talk about today. What are these cells? So these little cells are living and not dead. And so when we're talking about the health message, we're talking about how to ensure that these tiny little organisms, which are cells, continue to live, continue to thrive, continue to do what they were created for. So in their book, Dr. Dwayne and Nancy McAndry talks quite a bit about how the little cells need energy. And I heard someone here say metabolism is when the body takes energy from food and uses it for life or for function. You're correct. So they talk about energy in two forms. One is your savings account, The other one is your checking account. The checking account is where you're spending your energy every day, and your savings account is what you're keeping, which you need most of the time for longevity or for healing. And that's me adding on to what they say. So what words do we know and use to identify the structure of the human body or the function? Anyone can answer. If I say what words defines your body parts or you, what words comes to mind for you? Anyone? Let me rephrase it. What body part or organ do you think is most important organ in your body?
I would say the heart, because it pumps the blood around the body, and that's how we sort of, get our oxygen, etc.
Okay, the heart, that's how the body pumps the body. The body circulates throughout the body. That is correct. The heart is very important. What
How
else?
about the brain?
The liver.
The brain?
I love what I'm hearing. The brain, yes, the brain is important. Why is the brain important?
Because it tells the rest of the body what it needs to be doing at every time.
Because it tells the rest of the body what it needs to be doing all the time. Correct. I had the liver. Why is the liver important?
I think everything is important, really.
I think everything is important, really. I like that. So what I'm hearing is that the best words to identify who we are is we are fearfully and wonderfully what? Made. And I agree with you. Every single body part counts. So I came across this statement, and I believe it's in the Body Temple book as well, which said the problem we have is the cutting and the toxins. And I thought, for real. So if I get cut, I'm losing something which was part of me through surgery, right? If I get something removed from me, it's gone, like an appendix is gone or pancreas is gone. And so based on what you said, every single body part is important. When we lose one function of one body part, the body suffers. And when any body part is threatened, whether by the knife or by a chemical, that body part is struggling to thrive and to live. So we live in a world where every single body part is challenged by something. And so in this series, we'll be going through all those body parts, the brain, the heart, and let people understand how it works and what it does when it's not working right, and how does this all tie in with the health message. Thank you. What are your thoughts at this point? Okay, you're silent. What is homeostasis?
The body. Oh God.
Yes, go ahead, Sister Viola. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that the body, the temple of God, and everything, whatever is in there, it must function according to what was it created for.
That is so correct. So it must function according to what it was created for. So in the event it's not functioning, what do we do? I'm following up with your question there. In the
Find
event,
the root cause first. Find the root cause.
I love it. The root cause, yes. And so to answer the question I was asked earlier, yes. So we are here to find that root cause and identify what is the causing problem here. So we know that the origin of all these things was the great controversy. And when sin entered in the world. We know that. As Christians, we know that. We acknowledge that. And so the source of diseases is multiple things. Some things we can control and something we can't control. So thank you. So we are fearfully, wonderfully made. And then we are also confronted with a lot of things. Some we can change, some we cannot change. We know that. Thank you. So maintaining this state of balance, which is called home, we want to maintain a state of balance. And the state of balance means that you want these tiny little cells to get everything they need so they can live and not die. Are you able to hear me? Because I switched my device here.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. So very, very important because it defines the ability to maintain balance. And I want you, if you have a notepad, to just write that down. And at some point, if I don't talk about it, whenever we're doing our series every week, ask me, so how does the body maintain balance? Right, Daddy? How does the body, huh?
We have to have good nutrition in order for the body to maintain the balance that we need. Many people suffer from things like diabetes or cancer or things of that type. We have that going on in the United States quite often, but unless we have good nutrition and we get the enzymes that good nutrition furnishes, then we become sick. And we have to go to the hospital and spend a lot of money in the hospital because doctors have to be paid and nurses have to be paid in the hospital. But when we are able to maintain good nutrition right at home, which Nancy and I have done for quite a number of years now, we're eating about 75 to 80% of our food raw, in the raw state, which gives us a lot of good enzymes. And Nancy is the cook in the family, so I'll let her carry on from here.
Thank you. So you just heard from my daddy, and Daddy, tell people how old you are. Sorry to expose you on a Sabbath like this.
Well, 86 years ago, I was born in Wisconsin at 10 and a half pounds. And so I started out my life kind of with good nutrition. So I've been alive for 86 years.
Okay, so he's 86 years, he drives, he can preach, he can walk, he has no cane, he has no walker.
I'm not on any drugs of any kind.
He's not on any medication. And so that's why this body temple, I really felt like I need to share this body temple with people. I want the whole world to know.
Yes.
And so it's the wish of Dr. McAndry, you just heard from,
yes,
and Dr. Dwayne McAndry and Dr. Nancy McAndry, who you're seeing, is their wish that this body temple book would reach where?
All over
the world. So I said, I'm not going to wait until the funeral service to show up and say, oh, they had asked me to do this. I said, I will take my Sabbath, 2 hours, and share the message from the body temple. And you'll be joining us and you'll be answering people's questions who have questions for you. Because if you've lived to be 86 years old?
80, well, I don't have my birthday is in November. I'll be 86 in November. 80. But I've been alive for over 86 years. Because I was in my mother's womb for 9 months.
Okay, so he's been alive for more than 86 years. So I don't want to take too much time for our audience, but I just wanted you to meet Dr. McAndry. So whatever he says eat, that's what I'm eating. Because I'm 52, no way am I going to be on a walker when I'm 70. I'm going to be like you, Daddy. Thank you.
Well, there's more than one person that has said that. I was in a doctor's office just recently, and talking to a lady, and I was telling her about my health and I'm not on any drugs, and I was 86 years of age. And she says, But when she gets my age, she want to be just like me.
Exactly. Exactly. So we heard briefly from Dr. Dwayne McHenry. We're going to hear from Dr. Nancy McHenry. She's the chef. She's the cook. I won't tell you how old she is because that's not my responsibility. I'm not going to expose Mama. That's Grandy. I'm not going to do that.
I'll tell them.
Yes. So she'll tell you how old she is, and then we're going to move on and finish our session as we had scheduled. Yes.
I'm in my 80th year. And unfortunately, I right up front with people, I do take 2 drugs. Because, why? Because I didn't know how to keep my body in homeostasis. I wasn't even a Christian.
You are not a Christian.
And I was a fallen down drunk for 18 years.
We thank God for grace.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't recommend you going that way at all. Please don't.
Well, that's what Nancy means is grace.
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 Unmerited grace is what
Yes.
it means. I would like to answer the question of homeostasis too. Homeostasis is, as you say, it's balance. It's where the body is healthy. How do we get that? Well, nutrition is a very, very important part of it, but there are 10 doctors that we talk about. Nutrition is one of them.
God's plan, yes.
Yes, God's plan. And the first one is, to me, the most important one is trust in God.
Okay, trust in God.
We cannot navigate our own lives. We have to have a navigator with a capital N.
Yes.
And that is God, because he will direct our paths and he will direct our good health if we will allow him to. It's very difficult now to be really healthy because we've got toxins raining down on us in the rain and the water we drink. It's pollution, you name it, it's everywhere, even in the clothes we wear and the way they're manufactured. So we have what we call the 10 doctors. And let me see, the trust in God is the first one. God's plan. Let's see, what's the next one?
I have the book.
Okay,
So you
all
can
right.
read.
Yeah.
God's
Because-
plan. Yeah, I posted the God's plan in the first video. That's godly trust,
Yes.
daily air,
Yes.
daily exercise, sunshine, proper rest, lots of water, always temperate,
Good things.
nutrition, attitude of gratitude, and benevolence.
Exactly. And you have to utilize all of those. If you leave one out, it's going to be unbalanced. Homeostasis means balance.
Yes.
So all 10 of them have to be utilized. And I think it will take maybe many sessions for you to really identify homeostasis the way that people should understand.
Thank you.
So I think that's how I'm going to answer that for today.
Thank you so much. So we heard about this lengthy discussion about how to maintain balance. And so I want every single person at the end of this year to be asking themselves this question: am I maintaining balance? Am I allowing my tiny little cells, somebody said there are trillions of cells, maintain this balance?
Mhm.
So therefore, that takes us to the next question. And that's the last question before we go over the next slides, which is going to give us a little more information. How can we preserve energy? How can we preserve energy, vitality? And it's a question I have anyone who's attending via Zoom, or you can answer this question. How can we preserve energy? Anyone? Okay, so what is energy?
Are you asking us?
Anyone, what is energy? Because in order for us to know that we need to preserve it, we need to know what it is.
I would
What
say
is
in 2 words, life force.
life force is what I'm hearing.
Well, I would answer that question a little bit differently.
Hey, praise the
You
Lord.
had mentioned before when you were talking about the bank account and the savings account.
Mhm.
And I would like to expand on that a little bit and say that one of the most important things that we need in this day and age is live enzymes. Now, when I was a child going to grade school back in the 1930s and 1940s, I was taught about vitamins and minerals, that they were very important to get enough vitamins and minerals to maintain life and get energy. But the enzymes, many people don't know about enzymes. We have to have that energy comes from the live enzymes. Anytime that you cook food over 118 degrees, all your enzymes are dead. You cannot get life from something that is dead. So we have to watch when we cook food that we don't cook it over 118 degrees. Now, how do you test that? Well, it's very interesting, I think, is that when you stick your finger in water at 117 degrees, you will not get burnt. But when you raise the temperature 1 degree and you stick your finger in the water, it'll burn you. Isn't that interesting?
It's very interesting. So I'm listening to you and I'm hearing you. And so I'm hearing cooking methods and I'm hearing food choices. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
So because certain foods, you need that temperature, which you talked about, to be higher to kill the germs within those foods. And so it's not my intention today to talk about food, but that's where you're leading us. Because when different food types are prepared, it requires certain amount of temperature.
Well, in the Garden of Eden, we find that there was no cook stove in the Garden of Eden because nothing died. There was no death in the Garden of Eden. So there was everything that Adam and Eve ate was live foods.
Okay, so that's what I'm hearing. So in order to embrace the whole health message, we need to understand how we can preserve energy.
Well, Stella, I believe, Dr. Stella, that if we know when we don't have energy.
Yes, we do.
We can feel it.
We get diseases when we don't have energy.
Absolutely. And so when we are tired, a lot of the time, we are going down the wrong path and we're going down the disease path.
Okay.
And so we need to go back to what number 7 says. What is homeostasis?
The state of balance.
And
Yes.
we need to get acquainted with these 10 doctors in order for us to have the energy that we need to live our lives. Even children today in schools, I was a teacher for many years, 3rd grade I loved. Children are obese and they fall asleep in class. They're not getting enough enzymes and good nutritious food, and they're not getting enough sleep. You name it, it's there.
There's only 2 reasons to have sickness, only 2 reasons. And many people think there's lots of reasons why a person gets sick, but there's only 2 reasons. One is nutrition.
Yeah.
And the second is full of toxins. Your body is full of toxins.
That's right.
Yes.
And if you get good nutrition and you still get sick, that means that your body is full of toxins.
Okay.
And with the environment being full of toxins, everywhere we turn, there are toxins. Our immune system is constantly at war. We are at war.
Yes.
And individually, we are at war because of so much disease and toxins everywhere. And so we have to go right back to this. What is homeostasis? How can we have good energy? What do we understand that is causing us to lose energy? These are vital, vital questions. Every single one of us has to make choices in regards to this.
Perfect. So we are at that point now. We have these 8 questions. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll be sharing information which will answer most of these questions. And my hope is that through this series, each and every person will be able to say, okay, what do I know? What do I need to do? And where's the gap? Where are the gaps? And so in addressing these gaps, therefore, we'll get to a point of embracing the whole health message. It's not going to happen overnight, but over time, as we look through these components of who we are and how are we made, we'll be able to make those choices. So I thought for today, we can begin here by saying, okay, we can look at our bodies with 4 components. The 5th one is going to follow. We have chemical level. So when the body is alive, at the cellular level, there are some chemical reactions taking place, right?
All the time.
So oxygen is a chemical, minerals are chemicals, vitamins, chemicals, water is a chemical, is a mineral. So those 4 are needed. And you mentioned the wall. So you didn't see my slide, but you mentioned the wall. Also, at cellular level, chemical level, there are toxins of many different forms. We'll be going through that, those details later. But I want us today to understand that there are chemical level activities going on in the body. There are also cellular level activities going in the body. And you didn't look at my slide. Hormones, enzymes, neurotransmitters. And we'll go into the details of that. Every single person needs to know what hormones are in their bodies, what neurotransmitters are in their bodies, and what enzymes are in their bodies. Because at cellular level, there's movement. I heard you rightly say it, that there is toxins and buildup of toxins and toxins. So there is no toxin in the body which exists in isolation. Toxins usually draw water with them. So we can be well hydrated, but we can be dehydrated because the toxins are holding on to what? To water, because they don't exist just alone like that. So with what we are talking about here, it's important that each person understands what's happening at cellular level, and we'll talk about that. We'll make it simple. We won't use medical terms. And then at tissue level, what's happening? Tissue is specialized. So different tissues in our bodies have a specific function. That's why with this current pandemic, the lung tissue has been very challenged. And once the virus penetrates through the lung tissue, for instance, it can spread anywhere, because we heard that the heart's job is to send blood everywhere. So understanding this is very important, because sometimes people ignore pain, or they self-medicate, and never get to the root cause of what? Of that pain. And I heard some of our viewers here say, we need to get to the root cause. Yes, we do. And then, so now at organ level is where the symptoms of diseases are detected. So for instance, you will hear the doctor tell you that you have high blood pressure. And what comes to mind to most people is my cardiovascular system is challenged. And so people do go to the cardiovascular specialist for their heart. However, I'm here to let you know that whenever a person has high blood pressure, their kidneys are failing, because the kidneys is what regulates water level in the body.
They're the filters.
They're the filters, yes. And so toxins block the kidneys. So with what we are talking about here, in order for us to embrace the whole message of health, we need to get to the root cause and understand who we are and how we are made. We'll take your questions at this point based on what we just shared, or comments, observations. Any questions?
Just comment,
Yeah.
Dr. Stella.
Thank you.
I understand what's been said about, getting to the root cause of what's causing the problem or what's causing us concern. There are times when one would go to their GP and they are so eager to prescribe and not to get to the root cause. And I find that a little bit difficult. In my case, I'm so old, so much old. And I think for about 36 years now, my GP has been, making me aware of the fact that I do have high blood pressure. And he has never gone through a process wherein he can say to me, this is what's causing it, and this is what's causing it. And I find that difficult to handle. I'm not a medication person. In fact, I have not taken medication for, my son is 51. I'm not a medication person. And when I do find myself on medication, it's through, well, something that is, well, I don't know if I should say manufactured. The last time I was in hospital was in 2014, and I ended up in hospital due to conspiracy between the neighbors and the police. I ended up in a mental institution. There was nothing wrong with me, and they knew there was nothing wrong with me. But in any event, they, my phone is playing up. They diagnosed me with something, and it was all down to my belief in God. And in spite of the fact they knew I had no medical problem, they kept me in for 2 weeks, and I don't want to take too much time. And they, well, I would say threatened me that if I did not take oral medication, they would do it intravenously. And I said to the doctor, where's my right? He said to me, whilst you're in my hospital, you have no right. I paused and I looked at him. And I did not take the medication, the oral medication. And what they did, actually, they gave me an injection in my sleep. And I was disorientated for about 2 years. They tried to offer me other medication. I said, no, I do not want that medication. And although they forced me to take that medication, I think I was on it for about 8 months. And I said to them, I will not continue with this medication because it makes me feel worse than I actually am. And for the fact that there was nothing wrong with my health. And those are, I think that's the only time I found myself on medication. And it was not by choice. So sometimes I find it difficult when not sometimes, when my doctor says, you are having high blood pressure and we have to assist to the doctor. No disrespect, but you do not have to prescribe anything for me. And I am now as old as I am, and they've tried, but I did not take the medication, and I've never ever had to take medication, and I have no problem with my health, none at all. And I'm thankful to God that I do not know the ins and outs of the health message regarding what you're talking about now, but I've always remembered, I was reading Ellen White's book, and she said we should know our bodies in order that if a particular health problem sets in, we should know whether it's real or it's something, we ourselves can overcome by, I know you talk about self-medicating. And I'm thankful to God that I did not have to go the route of medication regarding high blood pressure, because it's not the first time. I left North. When I was in North, they said to me, oh, you're developing high blood pressure. I said, okay, I'll watch it. But they did not say the reason. This is the reason. That is the reason. And I find that difficult. And I still find it difficult when my doctor tried to put me on medication. I really refuse. I don't go there.
Ma'am, this is Dr. Nancy. I have a hypertensive problem too, but I have found a little bit, quite a bit actually, what causes it. Because I can tell you right now, medical doctors, MDs, cannot tell you what is causing your blood pressure because they don't know. They don't know why. It's essential hypertension. And if they're honest with you, they will tell you they do not know why this is going on in your body. But as naturopathic doctors, we have studied, and I have been very, very interested in this topic because I suffer with it sometimes. And my whole family, my mother and father died of strokes, my grandparents died of strokes, my sisters and brothers, they have hypertension. It's something that is genetically, it seems to be involved in the genetics, but not totally.
No.
Because the essential reason, and I've discovered this, I believe I'm telling you absolutely the truth, is that there are toxins in the body, first of all. Stress is a killer, and
Yes.
it causes hypertension. And most people that I deal with in hypertension are type A people. My husband is a type B person. He does not get upset about much at all. He's very easygoing, and even when there's problems, his attitude is, God is going to take care of this. I am a type A. You probably can hear this, that I'm a type A person. I'm a fix-it. Let me do it. I'm going to fit. That's the wrong way to think anyway, because God is the one that we need to be fixing things when they go
He's
wrong.
a problem solver.
Yes. But when you're a type A, like I am, and a stressed person, when I get writing, sometimes I get so excited that puts me into stress, and my blood pressure will go up. When I'm on the air, when we're doing television or Zooming or whatever, I get stressed. My blood pressure will go up. So we have to learn how to keep the blood pressure down, because the medical doctors are not going to be the answer for you.
Well, they're not taught that in medical.
They don't know what it
in
is.
medical
They
school.
tell you right away, sweetheart, I do not know what is causing your hypertension. But I know that in my case, it's stress, it's toxins, and it's salt. I say I'm allergic to the S's: Satan, salt, and sugar. Those three things will make your blood pressure go up. Just remember that: Satan, salt, and sugar.
And sin.
And sin.
And sin, the four
Yes,
S's.
right.
So yeah, definitely, I like what you said, and we are going to Mother Lorraine. Dr. Nancy said she's willing to talk to you, so you can exchange numbers later. I will make her number available to you. And so what's exciting at this point is that, from what I'm hearing, and this is biblical, the Bible says, know thyself. So when it comes to blood pressure, most people need to know thyself, because there is a genetic component, like you say, there's a lifestyle component, like you say, no doubt about it. What's shocking is that most adults 45 and over have high blood pressure today. I don't know.
Do you know what the percentage is?
I don't know what percentage,
It's
but
very high.
It's very high. There
Yes.
are not that many people in their 50s, my age, who don't have high
I
blood
believe
pressure.
that.
I don't, but most
Absolutely.
of my friends, maybe 2 people I know personally, don't have. Most of them have some issue with hypertension. And so what's shocking also is that yesterday, 2 days ago, I came across an article where Pfizer has recalled hydrochlorothiazide because it causes cancer. It actually was in the news.
And it also makes diabetes. It's a water pill.
It's a water pill.
And I'm one of them. They put me on that drug, Dr. Stella.
Yes.
And I was going into hyper sugar.
Yes.
And you know what they said? They said, oh no, you're wrong, Dr. Nancy. It has nothing to do. So I said, let's test it. So I stopped taking it and I took another pill. It went right down.
Wow.
No,
so we definitely will have a session on medication, on how medicines work. I'll be happy to talk about the pharmacology behind drugs and how they work, because people need to know. You need to know, because when you get that long list from the pharmacy of side effects on the drug, you need to watch out for other side effects, because you might be taking that drug with another drug, which
interaction.
So we'll go into that at another point. So at this point, we want to just move on to the next slide. So we talked about how at chemical level and cellular level things are happening. So now we look at organ level. So at organ level, when things are not well, you feel pain, they do labs, they do imaging, they do biopsies. And so the labs, the imaging, the biopsies is seeking to find out what's wrong.
Yes.
Okay. And so depending on where you are in which part of the world, you might not be able to get all the labs in the world, all the diagnostics in the world in terms of the imaging, like CAT scan, PET scan, MRIs, and so forth. And you might not be able to get a biopsy, but you might still be having pain. So part of what we hope to do is not to diagnose people's pain, but for people to think, if I have pain and I can't get an X-ray, I can't get an MRI, I can't get a biopsy, I can't get a PET scan, I can't get a CAT scan, what do I do? And so that's where the health message comes in, because just because this diagnostic test exists, it doesn't mean we are always going to get access to these things.
Yeah.
And that's where the country living and the health message are kind of married. They have a very close relationship in terms of survival, in terms of knowing what to do. So,
Really.
yes,
But we do ask people the symptomology.
yes,
What are the symptoms that are telling you that you are not well?
yes,
And so when we are trained as naturopaths or medical doctors or therapists or whatever, we can get kind of an idea what's going on.
yes.
And always when the body is going awry,
Mhm.
we need to detox.
Okay.
We need to, that's where we start. Would you agree with that?
Yes, no, I agree with you.
What-
And we will have a session on detox.
Mhm.
What does that look like and what does that mean? To different people, it means different things. To someone, it means they have to buy special food for the next 30 days or 60 days.
Some people.
To some people, they think they need to get an enema. To other people, they think they need to be on a water diet or tea diet or juice diet.
Yes.
We need to really talk in future about what is detox. What does that mean? And I hope that we can go into the session like that. Yes.
Well,
Doc.
I was going to say, you were talking about others. We know how does the body run? I was born in 1936, and I was during the Depression, and so I didn't have a lot of toys to play with back in 1936. My father was very poor, and we were living in the country, and so I played a lot in the dirt. Now, you might think that would be a bad thing to do, to be playing in the dirt all the time. But we're finding today that the people that are studying when we're close to the earth, your microbiome is greatly expanded, and your health generally is promoted as because God created us out of the earth. And playing in the dirt is just part of being healthy.
So your immune system gets stronger. Is
Yes,
what you're
it did.
saying, yes.
Yes, and I was talking to some people and they said in Africa they eat clay.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
like, what do you mean they eat clay? Probiotics come from clay, but I'm not saying to our viewers go eat clay, but kids eat dirt.
Yes.
Yes, they
Yes,
do.
so probiotics, which feeds that good bacteria, comes from the earth. But we'll have a different session on probiotics. So with what we're talking about here, at system level is when you need to know your vital signs and your symptoms, like you said. But at organ level, most of the time, most people are depending on diagnostics.
Especially in this country.
In this country,
Yes.
especially here in the US, you'll
Yeah.
hear a person say, I had an X-ray done, I had an MRI done, I had a CAT scan done, I had all my labs done, and they still don't know what's wrong with me.
Exactly.
It's very common for people to feel
Yeah,
like
it
that
is.
and to talk
Yes,
like
it
that.
is.
So the symptoms are at system level.
Mhm.
So to symptoms of disease to some people might look like maybe I am not going to the bathroom enough. There's not enough urine coming out of me, or I'm going to the bathroom a lot. I'm constantly urinating, or my bladder fills up and then I can't hold my urine. So
And
these
a
are
lot of times there's maybe blood in the urine too.
that's right, or blood in the urine. So most people will not think there's something wrong when they start seeing symptoms. And that's why I'm bringing this up. A person who sees symptoms for 10 years,
Ooh.
and they're self-medicating over the
Yeah,
counter and they
right.
don't know what's wrong. Until now, they have loss of function.
Mhm.
So at function level, people have problems walking, sleeping, premature aging, which we see, as well as no energy.
Mhm.
So the reason why I shared this, because people have to think, if I don't have energy, why don't I have energy for my age and stature? Because it's not that I'm not old, or I'm old, I just fail to function. Like
Mhm.
you two live in your own home,
Mhm.
you drive, you cook all your meals, you don't eat out at all, you clean your house, you wash your laundry. How can other people gain this energy? So we'll be looking at that. So before we close, we are just going to say this. There is characteristics of living. They say health and wealth are related. Health is best when you can have it, because you can have wealth and no health, and you're chasing for
Mhm.
solutions for your health.
Yes.
So the health message will help us understand how best can we allow our body systems to function in a way that we minimize diseases. We also enhance our body functions for as long as we are alive. And we can also have a balance. There ought to be a balance between spiritual life, physical health, spiritual health, emotional health, psychological health. And so sometimes when things are not well, that balance is very hard to create for most people.
Yes.
Because you will hear someone say, I'm in so much pain, I'm not even praying. It is common to say, I'm hurting so much, I'm not even enjoying my food. And it's common. So how can the health message help us with this? So I did mention that the body has systems, and I thought for today, we can just highlight some of these things, the function of the systems. We know the skin is the biggest organ we have in our body, and the skin is responsible for protection, for beauty. For some people, they like to make it look pretty. And that's why a lot of people do a lot of paintings on their body. They use a lot of chemicals on the body. But it's important to really also think that that is exposure to toxins, especially the younger people with a lot of tattooing going on. It's chemicals entering the body through the skin.
And
The
even
skin,
this nail business,
the nail polish.
that really is annoying me lately, because we have family members that get their nails painted regularly, their fingernails and their toenails. That aspartame, that's in that.
Aspartame?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Yes, that is terribly, terribly toxic to a system. And I'm going to say, now I wear some makeup. It's very evident. I don't try to hide that. But if you're doing something that is promoting disease and causing problems in your body, this is the body temple.
Yes.
Then do you think the Lord is going to excuse that? If you've been told and you know that just by smelling this stuff, that it is killing your liver and your kidneys aren't going to function the way they should. All of these systems rather, Stella, that you're talking about, we're going to have to answer to the Lord on this, aren't we?
That's why we're having this conversation, so people can think. Remember what we talked about. The body responds to food. The body also responds to chemicals. And the body does not know the difference between a chemical, which is going through your mouth, versus going through your skin. The only thing the body knows to do is to be inflamed. And that came from one of the participants here. They say there's inflammation. Yes. So inflammation stands in the way of homeostasis. And I want people to be able to connect these two.
That's right.
To say when my body is inflamed, the body struggles to maintain that state of balance.
That's right.
So therefore, you see body temperature goes up, you see swelling, you can't breathe right. So with these messages we're talking about, a lot of people, when you talk to them and say, what is the health message? They automatically say the use of herbs and roots and bark.
Well, that's
but I want to say this, the health message is very inclusive.
Yes.
It's inclusive. So we have to look at the root cause. That's what I heard. So with the skin now, depending on how I view my skin, Is my skin for protection? Yes. Because whatever penetrates the skin enters the body, because someone here said that the purpose of the heart is to circulate blood throughout what? The whole body. So anything which enters the circulated system, whether it's through your nails, your hair, your mouth, your skin, it's going to be circulated. And we'll talk about what that looks like. So the next organ after the skin is the skeletal system. So when people look at their bones and their joints, they are thinking strength and structure. Bone tissue is alive. And a lot of strain on the bones will end up with a lot of wear and tear over time. In the US alone, we have more adults over 65 today getting knee replacements, hip replacement than we've ever had in history. Osteoporosis, bones are weak. So bone health is very important. And I asked a question earlier about what is the benefit of movement. Just taking a walk strengthens the bones. Most people don't know that. They will say, I don't have the calcium. Yes, some people take calcium, don't get me wrong. But just putting weight on my bones every day will make my bones stronger. And it's biblical. Adam and Eve were placed where? In the garden. Yes. They have to work. So we have to work to move in order to keep bone health optimal. And then we're moving on to the next. And I'm not saying you should leave here and start running around and moving, but you need to consider, what am I doing during the day which is affecting my body?
Well, in place of taking an elevator to the top floor of your apartment building, walk up the stairs.
Walk up the stairs. Dr. McHenry said here. So here, now let's look at other systems, which is important because this is important. There is a system of organs known as the endocrine system. I am not going to go into the details of them, but I'm going to name a few. So everyone can know that inside the body, those chemicals we're talking about, they happen because they are organs which are at work all the time. There are certain organs which function round the clock. And yet I heard that the brain is more important, the heart is more important. It's true, but these chemicals keep the brain going, the brain firing, the heart pumping, the liver cleansing. And so these chemicals come from, I'll list some of the organs so you can do your research if you want. So when you come in future, you can ask questions. Let's start with the hypothalamus, which is in the brain, which secretes hormones which influence the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland, which secretes hormones which influence the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland, which secretes hormones which influence the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands secretes hormones which influences your kidneys, as well as your female and male organs, the ovaries and the testicles. So this system is so much ignored by most people. And so it is this system of these organs which secretes those chemicals I talked about, the hormones and the neurotransmitters, which open and closes doors. So life involves doors being opened, doors being closed. I heard a question earlier about drugs, and I'm going to say this. To a certain extent, most drugs which are used today mimic these chemicals, enzymes, hormones, neurotransmitters, and they also influence the ability of calcium and sodium to enter and exit the cells. That's how movement takes place. So we'll talk about that. It's another time. But I want you to start to think, whenever you eat, whenever you live, whenever you do whatever, how is this affecting my endocrine system? I heard you talk about that drug which raises sugar. And in my mind, I'm thinking it probably does influence the thyroid to a certain extent because the T3 and T4 hormones affect carbohydrate metabolism. So that metabolism we talked about, so maintaining a good level of sugar in the blood or processing the starches is dependent on a lot more organs than the pancreas.
And drugs all have side effects at a certain, and they're toxic at a certain level, all drugs.
All of them are, but they also fix problems which are wrong. So the root cause is addressing the problem. Whether that problem is fixed through a drug, through food, through movement, the problem has to be fixed.
True.
But so if a person identifying what's causing the problem and they are taking a certain medication to fix it, the question is, what else can they do? So for those of us who believe in the last days and that they would not be able to open pharmacies 24/7, we ought to think, if we are still living at that point, what do we do, right? So those are some of the reasons why the health message is very, very important and country living ties in. So we are not here to speak for or against drugs, but we are saying understanding how my body works will also help me to know when to take my medication and when to report certain symptoms to my doctor, because my doctor won't know what goes on with me until I tell them what goes on with me.
Educate yourself.
And educate yourself. So this is purely educational. So at this point, we are going to talk about the heart a little bit, but I want to open up for those who have questions, who have joined, or who have questions which you might think we can address before we move on to the next couple of slides. What are some of the questions you have for us? They say silence is golden. So because silence is golden, we are going to move to the heart. Unless somebody has a question, because it takes a little while to open that mic sometimes. Okay, so with what we are talking about here, let's then go ahead and talk about the heart. I heard it nice and clear and bright that the heart is the most important organ. It's one of the most important organs because when it stops beating, there is no life. Most organs would die, and life will only continue if the brain is still getting oxygen.
Computer center.
Oxygen, the computer center. So this heart, therefore, we have to guard it. The Bible talks a lot about our heart in many verses. I'm not here to preach a sermon, but there's a direct correlation between our heart function and our spiritual well-being. Very much so. And I'll sum it up in a few words. Remember how I talked about those chemicals which come from the organs, the neurotransmitters? I am going to talk to you briefly about the system. I'm not going to cover it in detail today. It's the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. The system which makes us run, fight, and be scared. The fight, fright, and fight. Most people call it that. It's dominant when we are fighting and we are at war. The other system is the system which brings peace, so you can empty your bowels. Picture yourself sitting on your toilet reading a newspaper. That's when that other system is working. So everything we do in life either enhances the fight, fright, or fight, or it suppresses it, or it engages the other system, which makes us calm down. So it's so biblical in that scripture and prayer brings people to a place of peace and calmness. I heard your type A, and I agree with you. Most people who are always trying to conquer the world, they engage their sympathetic nervous system so much that they are always fighting, frightened, or running.
Wear it out.
Wear it out. So it's this system, therefore, which contributes to a lot of diseases we see. However, and I want to answer the person who asked me about drugs. There are some drugs which are meant to slow that system down. And because this system functions very much so in influencing heart function. And it's when I came across this, I said, this is the answer, therefore, to this health message we are talking about, is for us to understand which system are we feeding into, enhancing or suppressing. So those two systems, most people don't know that they exist. They know of them. So most foods and drugs influence these systems. And then I'm going to make it simple and tell you that these two systems control the endocrine system. So you should all be saying, aha,
Oh, yes.
that's it. So if these two systems control the endocrine system, therefore, the chemicals in my blood, the levels of chemicals in my blood is influenced by which system is fired up or calmed down or triggered. So we are constantly responding to our environment and influencing in our environment, and then our body responds to the same environment. So we have challenges from within and from without, which results in symptomology, which you talked about, which can manifest itself in diseases or symptoms. So it's this cycle, therefore. So we just need at this point to know that these body systems function. They function independently if we look at it on the surface, but they don't, because they are connected, because throughout the body, blood is circulating as the heart pumps it. So whatever is present in the blood will go wherever blood goes. And that's why certain diseases we can prevent. We can prevent a lot of chronic diseases. They're called preventable diseases or non-communicable diseases. The diseases I cannot give you because you're sitting next to me. But these are lifestyle-related diseases. So the health message, the way I look at it, is to address those lifestyle-related problems and giving us an understanding that God has a plan. And the plan God has, it will always be in place whether we like it or not. It's there. It's always been there. So we will move forward and talk about these other systems, which are also present in our bodies. And these systems include muscle system. The muscles help us to move and gives us strength. Very symbolic. The Bible talks about that we ought to have stamina and strength. And so without muscles, we can't move. However, when we don't move, we lose muscle.
Use it or lose it.
You use it or you lose it. But you can't move when you don't know how to move right. Some people have to learn how to move right. There are those people like Dr. McAndrew here who mastered it 86 years ago, and now he's 86 and he still goes in his garden and grows all the kind of stuff and still feeds the dogs and mows the grass at 86. So it's champions like him we can learn from. So the muscular system does not work alone. The driver, of course, is the nervous system. And I heard you, I was listening to you. You said, I like to fix stuff, which is good. We need fixers. But what are you fixing is the question I would ask. What are you fixing?
And how are you trying to
How are
fix
you
it?
trying to fix and who are you trying to fix? Because at the end of the day, you think you want to change the world and fix the world, you get fixed. You put yourself under a lot of stress and a lot of strain. So this is a good part of the health message, to be at peace. Because when we are at peace, we influence the internal functions of our body. So we will in future talk about this nervous system, which is a bundle of nerves which fire, misfire, or are not firing right because of those other chemicals which are present in our body. So you see how when we say we are fearfully and wonderfully made, it literally means we are well knit together.
Exactly.
In a way that only God could do that.
Right.
Only God could tell me to think and look at you and think certain thoughts, and automatically I tremble. It's only God. So these mechanisms are there for survival, but if different mechanisms are triggered, they work against us. They literally work against us. So you realize that things like forgiveness, prayer, song,
attitude of gratitude.
Attitude of gratitude influences our nervous system right away.
Yes.
You know, when you smile, I smile with you, automatically the happy pills, the endorphins, the chemicals are released in my brain, and then I feel welcome. I want to hug you because I feel I'm close to someone who has welcomed me. So that is really part of the health message. So we are going to move on to talk a little bit about two systems, which I won't spend too much time because we are definitely going to finish in 23 minutes. the lymphatic system. This is a powerful system which without it we cannot live, because that's the system which allows us to be able to have defense and immunity. It does not function in isolation. This system is so much connected to the digestive system, which I haven't even talked about, because you call it the second brain. Dad, Dr. Dwayne, I call him Daddy. Daddy calls it the second brain. He said most of us, he said this and I almost passed out. He said most of us live according to our second brain and not our first brain. And I think you have a series on that. I'll let you lead that. So
Microbiome.
the microbiome. So I want to talk about the lymphatic system so badly because this is a system which has led to a lot of people succumbing to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes.
You have to move to have a healthy lymphatic system because it's a ductless system. So
There's
you've
no
got
pump.
to move. Yeah,
The
you've got-
cardiovascular has your heart
Yes.
pumping the blood, but your lymphatic system, the
You've
only
gotta
way it can
move.
get, you've got to exercise and move around in order to get that lymphatic system to work.
Okay. So we'll have a whole session on the lymphatic system. You're saying you have to move, and I agree with you. And I'm also hearing you have to eat right.
Amen.
Because if you have a lot of fluid all over your body and you're overly congested, how can you move?
Truly.
You cannot move.
Yeah.
So your body is like a tight jacket because you are so full of things which shouldn't be in there in the first place. So there is a method to all this because God fearfully knitted everything together. So this lymphatic system, whenever there's congestion, it's a problem. And I want to say this now so I can make people understand that cancer is an immunological problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Most people don't know this. Cancer is a problem with the immune system struggling.
Exactly.
Yes, moving is a good lifestyle habit. Yes, thank you for that wonderful comment. So we will talk about cancer when we talk about the immune system and tie it in with the lymphatic system. But this system depends on the function of my GI, unfortunately, my digestive system, because there are cells in the digestive system which are actually producing components of the lymphatic system.
Well, one of the things that I have found too that really help is to have a regular schedule to maintain health. Time to eat and time to rest and time to use bowel movements and
Go to bed.
Go to bed. And if you have a regular schedule throughout the day, then your body gets used to the schedule and
it's rhythm. It's the rhythm of the body.
Right.
It's a symphony.
It's
It's like an orchestra with all the different pieces knit together. I like that. And I respect that. I mean, at 86, whatever you tell me to do, I'm doing it. Because I'm 52. So you take 86 and 52, you're giving me another 44 years.
2 years between that.
Another 34 years. I want them where I can
I
still
think the
drive for the
Lord's
next.
coming back before that, Stella, sweetheart.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nancy. So at this point, I want us to say this. Okay, so are we making life easy or complicated? So we talked about the lymphatic system. Now we talk about the respiratory system, which is for breathing in life. The respiratory system has its own challenges already based on these environmental issues they've been talking about. However, did you know that toxins come out of our body through the respiratory system?
Yes.
When we
Certainly.
breathe out, we eliminate toxins. That's one way.
That's why I hate those masks.
There's only 4 ways we eliminate toxins in the body.
Yeah.
4 ways: breathing, urination, feces, and on this 5. Sweating. Breathing, urination, feces, and sweating.
Stella,
That's it.
Little children having to wear a mask at school, I just cringe every time I hear about it.
Well, it's happening.
Because how can the respiratory system?
They gotta go outside in between.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, really, you build up the carbon dioxide. You're not exchanging oxygen for the carbon dioxide. It really bothers me. And that's another day, I'm sure.
We can understand. So what's important for our viewers is to know that we gotta breathe.
Absolutely.
So what I wanted to share with the breathing is this. You see these lungs, they're like bags.
Mhm.
At the bottom of the lungs here, it's called the base of the lungs. And every time when I breathe in and out, it rests. I'm only probably emptying the top part of my lungs. It takes deep breathing for the air to really completely empty. So for people who never exert themselves at all, they're just working with a little bit of capacity in and out, just that vital capacity is just little and little. There's a dead space in the lungs. That's why you see, even with this COVID pandemic, we get a lot of people got challenged with pneumonia.
With singing.
With
help
pneumonia.
that.
Singing is a good exercise. Breathing is a good exercise.
Yeah, you've
So,
gotta breathe. You've got to really breathe.
Yes, so that's one way to keep this respiratory. So we'll talk about how it works.
Another thing is belly laughing.
Belly laughing, laugh from the heart, laugh from the belly. I like that. That's a good tip coming from Dr. Dwayne McHenry. So the digestive system, we have a whole lot of time coming to talk about the
That's one of
digestive
your
system.
favorite things to talk about.
It's really good. It's responsible for nutrition, immunity, and elimination.
Right.
And if there's not enough elimination going on, there should not be too much feeding going on.
Most of people, if they have one bowel movement a day, they think they're doing pretty good. But you really need to have a bowel movement.
We've even seen people with that.
You need to have a bowel movement for every meal you eat.
Yes, and I like what you say, Dr. Dwayne, and I like what you say, Dr. Nancy. Some people go once a week. So I have this formula I always tell my clients. I'll tell the world, it's okay. You're right. We are supposed to move as much as we eat, right? So if a person eats 3 times a day, how many movements are they supposed to have?
3
a day.
a day.
3 by 7 is what?
21.
21. If a person moves every other day, how many movements are they having a week?
Oh my! Math isn't my.
Every
strong
other
suit.
day, there's 7 days in a
Right,
week.
right.
If you do every other day, you do 3 to 4.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Let's give them 4. Let's say maybe one day they
Yeah.
move twice. Or maybe on Sabbath they're resting, so their bowels move as they're resting. When you rest, your bowels function better because of those 2 systems I talked about. So let's say 4. 21 minus 4 is what? 17.
Yeah, okay.
17. So where in the world did the rest of the 17 movements go? The bowel movements, which are supposed to come out, the 17 of them are still inside. Where are they going?
They're just clogging the colon. It's backed up.
You say that. There's a lot of clogging the colon going on, correct? There's a lot of decomposition of feces going on and
they're
reabsorption
the toxins.
back in the
Yeah,
All
system.
those toxins.
So now you're talking, some of the
Yeah.
draining of energy is coming from the
Yeah, of course.
toxins, from lack of emptying refuse. But anyhow, we know like these days, there's a lot of colon cancers going on. Actually, colonoscopies are mandated in the US at the age of what, 45?
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think you gotta have one when you're, I'm not,
To keep your insurance, you mean?
no, to check if you have polyps
I
on your
see.
colon.
I see.
So
Okay.
colonoscopy is a scope looking inside your colon to
Mhm.
see if you have polyps,
Yeah.
which are like projectiles, which are a precursor for colon cancer. So you say the colon is clogged.
Mhm.
So if the
Yes.
colon is clogged with toxins, it's got to be inflamed.
Yeah.
But anyhow, we'll go into that some other time. But that's important to know that the digestive system has its own work and we need it to survive. Then we'll talk about the reproductive system at some point. We'll just have a whole session on this, which is going to talk about hormones, balance, and reproduction. That's a big one. This is another system which is very, very important, the urinary system, responsible for fluid balance and blood pressure control, and of course, elimination of toxins.
Exactly.
I'm not here to knock anybody's drink, but water should be your friend.
Mhm.
That's all I can say. So we want to end this conversation answering your questions. If you have not viewed one of the sessions which was pre-recorded, which is available through our channel. It talked about atoms. Atoms, which are solid bits of matter. I love what the two doctors wrote in their book, The Body Temple, and this came straight from the Body Temple, and it reads, atoms are not solid bits of matter. In fact, atoms of the densest substance consist mostly of spaces. I like this. Everything in the universe has basically the same pattern. As planets in our galaxy orbit around the sun, like the nucleus of an atom, like the planets have small particles orbiting around it. Think of the nucleus, the middle of an atom, as the sun, and the small particles, electrons, circulate around the nucleus as the planets. Relative to the difference in sizes, electrons are far away from the nucleus as the planets are from the sun. You might be saying, why am I talking about this? Doctors Dwayne and Nancy McHenry highlighted how our body cells are exactly functioning like that. So I began to ask myself, perhaps then, therefore, where the space should be empty is no longer empty because fluid has entered the cell because of inflammation or imbalance of minerals and electrons. Makes sense. So disease processes, most of them are a result of what? Inflammation. And so most medications address that. That's why when a person is really like sick, they give them prednisone, which is a steroid. They feel much, much better after that dosage because it really has reduced the amount of inflammation going on. But that person goes back to their old ways.
But they pay for it in the end.
Well, we are not discussing the medication here, but yeah, that person goes back to where they were before. And guess what? This cycle continues.
Yeah.
So therefore, in conclusion, it behooves us, each one of us, and this is based on the Body Temple, every single one of us need to conserve energy. Our energy level is needed to live longer and to live productive life. If you ask a senior who's 65 years old today, they will tell you they wish they could live in their own home, cook their own food, drive their own car, but now they're in a nursing home because they have lost their function. If you ask someone who's in their 30s today, who's now experiencing high blood pressure or weight issues, they will tell you that they wish they could run around and play basketball like their friends are doing. So I am excited because I know that the viewers of this program and those who are sharing with their friends have found it important to learn a little something about your body. This program is not meant to discredit drugs or any other practices out there. It's just meant to shed light because John, in the book of John, 3 John 2, verse 2, 3 John, the 2nd chapter, I think that verse is missing. It's
verse 2.
It's verse 2.
The book of John, the 3rd book of John, verse 2.
What's the chapter?
No, there's only one chapter.
There's only one chapter. Oh yeah, you're a Bible scholar. We might argue with you. So in evangelist at heart, yes. So John wrote these words, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in good health, as thy soul prospereth, even as thy soul prospereth." So we know that Jesus also wrote these words, that I have come that you may have life and have life abundantly. So we're therefore reaching a point where we are acknowledging that there's a direct connection between the health message and spiritual growth, and that there's also a direct relationship between what we were talking about today and what we are going to talk about in future. We want to say thank you for listening. Don't hesitate to ask questions. You can access our YouTube channel and type your questions if you're not able to join us live via Zoom. We understand. All these sessions are recorded for you to have access. Share with your family members. We are using the Body Temple book, which was written by Dr. Dwayne and Nancy McHenry, who are joining us today. This is my closing thoughts. I believe we can all choose health. We can all reach a point in life where we can share with someone that one thing which might help them live life with less stress, less diseases, and more energy so they can thrive. We don't claim to have all the answers through this health message, but we believe that some of the connecting points are going to be shared through this series, which we are sharing with you. At this point, we'll take your questions. Since we do have about 8 minutes, if you can type your questions in the chat box, we will definitely respond. The first question is the book The Body Temple on Amazon? Yes, it is. The book The Body Temple can be purchased from the Meduna International website. What's the name of it? Meduna Health International.
Yes.
The book can also be purchased by sending me an email for those who have local, because we do have the book at hand. This book was used in the foundation of one of the naturopathic school of medicine.
We were the founders.
They were the founders. So Dr. Nancy and Dwayne McHenry were the founders of IIOM,
The International Institute of Original Medicine.
the International Institute of Original Medicine. So with what we're sharing with you here, feel free also, if you visit our website, you can, there's a blog which I kind of started last year, which didn't continue. You can find a blog on the Body Temple. Our hope is that as we go through this series, we can now start connecting some of the dots. Why some people, when they're on substances, like abusing substances or drugs or alcohol, it's very hard to change. They might be willing, but they are not able to change those habits overnight because of the way the body works. Most of you will agree with me. If you love fried chicken and you do your best to try and stop eating fried chicken, and you drive by a restaurant and you smell that smell of fried chicken, there's no doubt in my mind that if you have the money in your wallet, you're going to go to the store and get fried chicken. So our bodies are fearfully and wonderfully made. And we are told through the Bible that we need to guard the portals of our mind. And so guarding the portals of our mind means that we need to reach to that understanding that we ought to be people who are taught, people who are knowledgeable of what we ought to do during our time. So thank you so much for joining. If there are no more questions, we are going to end this presentation. We want to thank Dr. Nancy and Dwayne McHenry for coming to join us today. And we thank God for He led them to write this book, which we are sharing with you. So before I close, I just want to do justice and allow Dr. Nancy to give us the closing thoughts for this session.
Well, thank you, Dr. Stella, for inviting us to be here today. We've enjoyed every minute of it, and I hope that you will invite us back to do some more work with you for the Lord. This is our joy, isn't it, to be medical missionaries. And we hope that something that we have said today may have touched someone's heart out there. And, you know, God wants us to be healthy. And my husband is living proof that he has 86 year. He's just been a whole week. He's been spending mending fences and digging fence posts.
For real?
Yes, absolutely.
Get out of town, Daddy.
And working in the garden.
Okay.
Yeah, but the holes for fences are deep, and you have to really get down there with an axe sometimes, because the soil, the clay of the soil.
And the roots are in there
Yeah,
too.
yes. And so he's doing that at 86 years old. He's never been on medication. He's been very healthy, and his joy is being an evangelist and a naturopathic doctor for the Lord's service.
You know, each day we post on Facebook at Doctors Dwayne and Nancy McHenry. And we invite those people that would like to.
They want to see you, Daddy. Sit over here.
Yes, we have 4,000 Facebook friends, and you're posting every day, aren't you?
That's right.
Okay.
We're posting every day on Facebook. And so we want to help people with the health message and help them to not only be improve their physical, but also the mental and the spiritual
yes.
health in their body as well.
It
Okay.
all works together.
Thank you. May you pray for us?
Yes. Dear Father in heaven, we thank you for this people that have joined with us today, and thank you for your love and patience with us. Help us to be a witness for you so that we can be prepared for your soon coming kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for joining us
Amen.
via Zoom. Amen. And via YouTube. We definitely look forward to spending 2 hours with you every Sabbath. It's going to be between 4 to 6 p.m. UK time. It's noon to 2 p.m. Florida time. And I believe it's 5. I don't want to miss that. It's 6 to 8 p.m. on most of the African time zones, or 5 to 7 p.m. in the Botswana time. Thank you so much for joining, and please give yourself a hand, for you have taken time out of your busy day to at least spend time with us. Thank
God
you.
bless. God
Bye.
bless.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you next week.
Thanks. Bye-bye.